Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and I'm broadcasting from the road in Israel. And this is a Jupiter day, Jupiter hour, so let's call on the blessings of Zeus. I'm going to try to keep it quiet because I'm on the road. And there is discussion this morning about the possibility of a ceasefire in Israel. And I was immediately like, okay, first of all, let's see if there is something talismanic. So Lot of Fortune is on Procyon as I see these charts. I'm going to call on Procyon. And Procyon, we know, is the great denucleificator. So it's very appropriate for avoiding world wars. That being said, okay, before we get excited, let's take a look at everything in consideration. The chart of today, Moon right now is 20 degrees Cancer, and it is slowly applying to Procyon. Of course, it's not in orb yet. This is the Luna in Cancer, and she's at home in Cancer. She's separating from a conjunction to Mars. It was intense, and applying to trine Neptune. First Saturn, a little bit of a good position in the 10th house. Jupiter is very fortunate, optimistic, is in 20 degrees Gemini, although it's applying to square Neptune. It actually applies to trine Chiron on the 22nd degree, surrounding the topic of sovereignty. Okay, the to kill and be wound, so the war wound around topic of sovereignty and independence. Second independence war for both Israel and Palestine. And the ascendant ruled by Venus. Venus is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, that is again in Cancer, so all is approaching towards this process. One thing that I'm pondering about the ruler of this Jupiter is Mercury on the anaretic degree of Virgo, but it is really seen from opposition to Neptune. So as we know, aspects to Neptune can be the. And so my first thought was, is this a diversion tactic? Okay, now I want to be optimistic and say, hey, and also I want you to understand Uranus is going on retrograde on the sun of the state of Israel. So it's not even beginning. Okay, we were gonna have some time for Israel redefining Israel. Okay, I'm just talking about Israel, not Palestine, not the region. And Mercury here is actually the 12th house for Israel. So this territorially, it can create a lot of genuine security challenges to defend the state of Israel if such a thing will occur. So this is definitely to the detriment of the state of Israel, unfortunately. We definitely want a ceasefire where we have a win-win, because what is not a win-win is a lose-lose, and a lose-lose is a world war, and it's nuclear. So that's something we all know what genuine international relations are, and we know that what's going on here has nothing to do with that, because we're towards 2030 and so on. So this is my concern about the Mercury here being in the 12th house for Israel. It is the house of hospitals, it's WHO, it's all these things that could be diversion tactics so that we wouldn't look. So just as a war is diversion tactics, so is a peace agreement. Of course, we want ceasefire. Everybody wants ceasefire. Everybody's tired. And that is would be the best. That being said, it's also important to state that this is very likely used as a diversion tactic from something to do with the WHO. So you want to be taking a look. You want to be taking a look at all the real estate that is being destroyed in these wars. It's not going to be owned by Israel, and not United States. So there are all these forces by proxy that's ruining a lot of stuff to acquire land and resources and rights over something, and using the national entities as that process. So that is something to kind of pay attention attention to, well, ceasefire is good for everyone right now. Okay, it's the fact that they use it as diversion tactic that is problematic. Okay, and this is basically the success of their plan in this sense. Okay, they got everyone what they want, whether they want them, and that tells me that there was some sort of achievement that we would need to address. One such achievement, I'm putting that person on the spot a lot because October 1st is going to be head of NATO, and the new head of NATO had a little bit of a scandal during COVID where there were 1,100 children kidnapped from their homes because parents were giving basically allowance for the children. They didn't fill out forms right, and then that was taken away from them. They began to commit suicide, and some of them had their children taken away from them. So this is a tactic to kidnap children using taxation. I want all countries to pay attention to this, and everybody blames, of course, the prime minister. But we must understand that this is a tactic that is being used also in peace days, also in non-pandemic days, to kidnap children, not just refugees, from their parents. Okay, we want to talk about, Urano Beta Per Se is a great time to talk about divorce laws and the ability of people to say yes, no, and maybe within and outside of marriage, regardless of their gender, and the many deaths that can occur around that. Okay, to be survivor of divorce, I'm a child survivor of their parents' divorce, and I have to say, both my parents had to be very intelligent, and it was almost lethal. Okay, so you really need, like, this one needs a discussion. Uranus rules astrology, is also ruling divorce, and just like divorce between nations, which is going to happen with the Saturn Neptune. And you want to watch Astro Victor for that. He did a great coverage of the Saturn Neptune in Aries. I don't think I even need to do a video after that. It's such a great coverage. And so the fact that children are being kidnapped, and they're being kidnapped to human trafficking, they're being kidnapped to organ sale, they're being kidnapped to slavery, they're being kidnapped to Expendable Children Project. A lot of people say, no, Beyonce does witchcraft, Beyonce does this. Beyonce, if you watch my video, she's very likely an expendable child that survived. And the only way to survive was to do what she does. Okay? So that's something to consider. And people only wake up when it was COVID. Okay, this is also why, and it's okay because they weren't aware of that. But now that we have the awareness, I want to turn the people who, if you are hurt by this and you're living in the Netherlands, I would turn to Trudy Verstegen, which is Mama versus Mafia. She's been tending to that. Her children were kidnapped for satanic ritual abuse, and she's just a lot to say. So this is Mama versus Mafia on YouTube. So if you need help, you can turn to her. And if not, this is a place that I would go to. This is not doing something with the welfare or with the state or with those that kidnap children, as far as I can tell, where you can contact her and donate this project. Another person you might want to check is Ronald Bernard. I haven't checked in depth the thing because I'm tending to housing first and nervous system supportive housing, which I think is necessary for the right to exit violence. But he's tending to the issue of children as well. And again, you want to check it out for yourself, okay? And that's it's Ronald Bernard on YouTube. So that scandal, okay, that was the known thing. That was the families that got together and unfortunately are harvested by Masonic organizations. You want to watch through the channel to understand it's happening. The same symbolism happening in Israel for the kidnapped people during the war. And they are now becoming a party, okay, to say, okay, we vote for returning the kidnapped, which is beyond insane. Okay, but this is a part of how the B6 style is operating. Okay, so I'm here to give you the insights for the people that are outside of that, for as much as I can, to make it more accessible to have choice, and to have accessible the right to exit violence, whether I'm within the codes, outside the codes, you grew up into expendable children, you had to commit crimes, you had to this, to make it more accessible for people to have choice. Okay. So you can imagine that kind of scandal that made Mark Rutte resign after 20 years of running the government in Netherlands is still waiting on his shoulder, with a risk of being litigated, and together with the state of the Netherlands, but for him it's a risk of being litigated, and there's a question: will he receive immunity and become head of NATO as opposed to on October 1st, or will they Assangify him? Because they're basically talking about Julian Assange, and saying that he does not deserve immunity. Again, I want to remind us all that it's not just during the 20 years that Mark Rutte has been Prime Minister that we have child kidnapping globally by the welfare. And I think that to point the fire, on one person is not going to bring the children back, because that is us playing to the hands of those who play their own political games and want to take off the person that knows too much and, for example, could speak publicly. He's also a gender contributor to the World Economic Forum. And that is another thing to consider. So if ever I would think about the right to exit violence, the right to whistleblow, and safety housing, nervous system supportive housing, and safety houses in that case, that is more to where we need to go. If you're driven by vengeance, you might miss the change underneath the vengeance. There's always a change underneath the desire to vengeance, to get justice, to get something done, and that is the change. And this is also returning me to my point. It's like, will there be ceasefire in Israel? I think there might. With Moon applying to Procyon and the position of Jupiter, there might. There might be people killed, because if Jupiter will be sextile Chiron on the 22 degree, and that can be killing in hospitals in Israel. So some people might be murdered. Again, it's a diversion tactic. So yes, of course, we want ceasefire, and we would wish that to not be a diversion tactic. I would wish that to not be a diversion tactic. Others may think differently. And this is the chart and the position of Mercury that's ruling over this Jupiter, and it's Jupiter, Jupiter day, Jupiter hour, with Jupiter Gemini applying to 22 retrograde Chiron. Then the ruling of this supposedly optimistic move has to do with illusion, diversion tactic, and yes, something that is hidden in the fog, something contractual that we don't see, that has to do with children. So again, I recall for you the resources that you have dealing with child kidnapping in Netherlands. It's through the Verstegen. For projects, again through the Verstegen, Mama versus Mafia on YouTube. And you might also want to check Ronald Bernard for his project, and it's Ronald Bernard on YouTube. Ronald Bernard, both are whistleblowers. Ronald from the banking system, and Trudy also banking system. She was PFTA, she was a politician, but she also has her own children being kidnapped when she said no to her rapey husband. So see you, and wish for a genuine ceasefire, and free the children. Bye-bye.